Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Good evening.
Good evening.
So tonight we're going to talk about the chapter 5, Blessed are the afflicted. And then we're going to start with some passages. We'll start this one from Matthew here. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are those who hunger and thirsty for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for there is the kingdom of heaven. We're going to see another one that is pretty close to it from Luke. Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who hunger now, for you will be satisfied. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. And then we have another one. Oops, that's the last one. So, these... There was another one? Oh yeah, this one. Sorry about that. So, but woe to you who are rich, for you have already received your comfort. Woe to you who are fed now, for you will hungry. Woe to you who laugh now, for you will mourn and weep. So, right now, when we talk about this chapter, it's mostly about the trials that we had in our daily lives, right? And why we have them, and why Jesus was promising the reward, or that we'll be able to reap whatever we are sowing here right now. Right? So the reward Jesus promised, earth sufferers, only becomes reality in the future life. Right? So we already have the idea that right now in this place we are living a pretty short existence if you compare to the whole eternity of the spiritual life, right? It might be hard to understand, but remember that God is infinitely perfect. Since God is supremely good and just, we can understand that there are no favorites. We can conclude that hardships from lives have a cause, and since God is just, the cause must also be just. So all the issues that we have in our lives, let's not talk about the cause, right? Let's just focus on the issues that we have. We have so many problems that we face on our everyday lives, and faith will help us to go forward, right? Later on, we're going to talk a little bit about faith. And if you have faith in God, and then you understand that God is just, God is fair, it will have an explanation behind it, right? We're not going to have those trials just because we're just going through something that nobody knows the reason, right? God knows the reason. We need to have faith in God. And we need to understand that He is fair, right? And this will start helping us to understand and to go through those issues. So there are two kinds of sufferings on earth. The first one has its cause on present life, and the second one has its cause from previous life. So since on the Spiritism doctrine, we understand that we had previous lives and you have future lives. Of course, we are not perfect, right? If we were perfect, we wouldn't be here on earth. Taking by that point of view, if we are not perfect, we've been committing mistakes for quite some time, right? Since we were created by God. Some of those mistakes, we already gone through that, and we already paid those debts. Some of the mistakes, we are still going through it. And every single day of our lives, we can accumulate new mistakes. We can make new mistakes. We can accumulate another set of issues that we have to iron, right? So talking about the two kinds of suffering. So the first one the present life sufferings. Majority of our trials are consequences of actions, thoughts from present life. We are victims of our own arrogance, ambition, lack of discipline, bad conduct, and inability to control our desires. So we are really reaping what we have sown right now in this life, right? So we understand that we are not perfect, and we are working to evolve every day, right? But divine law is here, and we have to understand that every action will have a reaction, right? If you did something bad, you have to pay for it, right? So the message that we have to take from it is that we already understand what's right and what's wrong, right? We know that we shouldn't treat other people the ways that we don't want to be treated, right? We know that we should always help, we should to have compassion, we should be humble. So since we already know that, it's time for us to change our behavior, right? And now that we understand that the behaviors that we have right now, most of them are the causes of our trials that we're going right now, all the sufferings that we have, it's easy to understand that as soon as we get better, as soon as we evolve morally, we're going to have less and less issues in our daily lives, right?
So, Daniel,
Mm-hmm.
if the majority of our trials are resulting from what we're doing now while we're here on earth,
Mm-hmm.
how are we ever going to get to working on those trials and expiations and atonements that we have to take care of from our past lives? I mean,
You're going to see that by the time we age, it's amazing how God's wisdom, we can see God's wisdom when it happens. By the time we age, we stop making the same mistakes that we've done when we were young, right?
that's true.
You stop rushing yourself. You stop giving more importance to material things than when you are a teenager or something like that. So within this life, you're going to evolve a lot. But we need to give the time for it, right? We're not going to change it just like that.
Right.
So by the time we are getting more experience, we're getting our thoughts together, we are living the lessons that Jesus is putting in our daily lives, we're going to be able to fix a lot of stuff, right? We're going to be talking about the sufferings from previous lives, and then we're going to touch it. But that's the idea. By the time we get older, we're going to get wisdom, wiser, and we're going to be able to reduce the amount of mistakes we are making, right? So something that happens a lot. It's really hard to admit our failures and take responsibility for them. I hope when I get older, I'll be able to take responsibility for my mistakes, right? And so we need to stop blaming others and take the chance that God is giving us every day to work on it, right? We shouldn't be blaming others. All the issues that we've been going through, if you think about it, if you go really deep on your heart, it's probably your own fault. Right? So we can avoid most of them, right? Some of the trials that we're going through is because of past lives, and we'll have to iron them, right? Those will not be able to avoid. So, but even so, we're not able to avoid, but we can change ourselves, stop making mistakes. Try to stop making mistakes, right? And then we're gonna evolve. So only when we recognize that we need to evolve morally and intellectually, we'll be able to stop suffering. So that's the keynote for tonight. So past life suffering causes. What we have here: natural disasters, accidents that no planning could avoid, loss of a beloved one or a family, birth defects that, and other situations that we couldn't be avoided, right? So these are problems that modern philosophy is not able to answer. And religions that don't accept the idea of multiple life, they cannot explain. How would you be able to explain, I don't know, an airplane accident where a whole bunch of people die at the same time, and even young kids or babies, people that haven't had time to do good or evil, they die in the same situation, right? So how do you explain situations like that? If we take the approach of this previous lives and future life and the pluralities of the existence that we had on planet Earth, it can get easier for you to accept. So if we didn't believe in the plurality of lives, how would you accept the situation where a being dies few days after birthday, when had no chance to practice good or evil? There is no way how to explain that, right? You're going to see a baby, I don't know, let's say 3 months. He was not able to do any good. He was not able to do any evil, but he died. So what's wrong with that picture, right? There's something that it's really hard to understand. Maybe that spirit just have to pass through that existence to fix an issue that he had on his perispirit, and it was needed that existence to fix that problem. And of course, since God is perfect, God is just and is fair, the family where that baby was was born, they have something in common that the whole family had to go through in order to expiate something that happened probably in the past, right? So if we change our point of view, we'll be able to find some comfort in situations like that. So how can you explain people that are born with such restricted conditions that will always depending on someone else to help their journey? So let's take one example here. One baby that was born, and since the day that he born, we know that he'll not be able to walk, he'll not be able to speak. He had some serious mental and physical conditions that human being will be trapped on his own body. So for situations like that, how would you be able to explain, to see God's fairness if you don't believe in previous lives, right? So there is no way how to explain that. But it might happen that this spirit on his previous life, he did so much harm, or he every opportunity that he had to do bad or to take his own life, he would do it, right? So somehow God's wisdom put that spirit there in a condition that he'll have to expiate, he'll have to live on someone else's help, with other people's help, but he'll not be able to do any harm. He'll not be able to take his own life if he wanted to, right? So let's stop a little bit and think about it, because this is something that if you don't believe in something like that, it's really, really hard to accept a condition. Imagine the trial that one spirit that is incarnated in a situation like that will be, right? Luckily, we have the Spiritism doctrine that help us to understand a little bit according to our own moral evolution, right? And then with situations like that, we can have some comfort. Since we already understand that God is just, and it's easier to understand that something happened previously that caused situations like that, right? So couldn't couldn't have happened anything on this life that would explain a situation like that, right? So we already believe that God is fair. We know that His wisdom, He's perfect, right? So it has to have an explanation, and we can conclude that it was something that happened in the past, right? So once we understand that we are the root cause of our misfortunes, you realize that every person is given just what he or she needs to experience. Right? We can't forget that God will only give us a burden that we can handle. So God's justice is unvarying. We have to understand that sometimes it's talking about blaming each other, blaming God for the issues that we go through our life, blaming, I don't know, who else. We have to understand that there are no favorites. God created us the same way. And His wish is that we become perfect spirits, right? So we were created ignorant, pure and, forgot the word, Edward, is ignorant and simple and ignorant. And He gave us the tools to evolve. And one day, this is our fate, one day all of us, no exceptions on that, will become perfect spirits, right? But coming back here, so we have to understand that God will not going to give us a burden that we will not be able to handle ourselves. And let's say, even if for some reason we are not able to handle it, when we are maybe people that were able to listen to Eduardo's lectures when he was talking about the spiritual plan that we create before we come to earth, right? Even if we back then, for some reason, we thought we could be able to handle that in this existence, and something happened, and right now we are not able to deal with that. God, in all His love, He's going to put something to help us. Somebody will be able to help us. Something's going to happen that will give us a chance to keep going with this burden, and that will somehow give us the chance to succeed with this issue that we have to our own. So, talking about the sufferings again. So, not every instance of suffering indicate previous misdeeds. Spirits can request situations like that to help them to accelerate their own progress. The more challenging the task, the more rewarding it will be for those who complete it. This is something that we see, situations like that, we're going to see, and they're going to be studies, and you're going to see on the news and stuff like that. Because you're going to see spirits that they are so evoluted that they surface above the other spirits, right? You're going to see people that just by listening to them, you see that they don't sound like other spirits that are here to suffer on this on earth, right? If you have the opportunity to see the movie that you're going to have on Saturday, it's March 13, right? When are you going to have the movie? Yes. March 11. So we're going to talk about Mother Teresa, and she was like really, really famous, but she was so humble. She had a really, really tough life, and it couldn't be that she has so many issues to iron. So spirits like that are way more evolved than the average that we have here on Earth, they can choose to stay here with us to progress, to accelerate their progress, right? And it's easy to see spirits like that, right? Chico Xavier was a very good example that we had down there in Brazil. You see that he was above the average, right? Gandhi was another spirit that it's easy to see that he was way more evolved than the average that we had back then. So we see those cases that there is no explanation. But why a person that has such is so evolved morally is going through trials like that is going to civil wars, and it's having such a poor existence, and doesn't get frustrated with that, doesn't get angry with that, accept situations like that are so tough for other people, and they move on, right? So they are here for us to use them as inspirations, because we know that we can ace when we have our trials. And then we talk about to suffer well or badly. So here on earth, everyone on earth experiences some kind of pain, regardless of whether sitting on a throne or sleeping on the floor, right? What really counts is how well you can take suffering. God doesn't put a heavy burden on weak shoulders. The burden always depends on the degree of your strength, just as the reward for bearing it always depends on the degree of your fortitude and courage, right? So every time that you go through a situation, how should we react on it? Should we get mad and start blaming everybody and close ourselves to the world and complain and mistreat our brothers that are around us? That's not what we are here for, right? We always have to remember that God doesn't put a heavier burden that we can handle. Right? So let's take the opportunity that God gives us